We are drawing ever closer to the end of the liturgical year. We've been in this long, ordinary time, the green season, the season after the Feast of the Pentecost, as we move ever closer to Advent, the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. So the liturgical year gets a little bit of a head start. The beginning of the liturgical year is 4 Sundays before Christmas Day. So the liturgical year starts a little bit earlier than the calendar year. But here we are at the very end of the current liturgical year as we have just a couple of Sundays left in this long green season. In the past several weeks, we've had several readings that exhort us to hold fast to the tradition and the teachings that we have received. And those have principally come from Paul's letter, his letters to the Thessalonians, and talking about receive the faith that has been given you, hold to it, and continue in that tradition and in that teaching. And we'll have one more of these passages this Sunday where Paul talks again about holding on to that tradition as it has been taught, but then also being accountable to one another and living together in community and respecting each other and using your wealth, your worldly goods for the benefit of the community, and to see all of how you make your decisions about what you do with your resources as being something that articulates the faith that has been given to you. And that will be answered in the gospel with part of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, where he talks about don't worry so much about worldly things, but fix your mind on heavenly things, on spiritual things. And that's not to minimize the decisions that we have to make day to day, but rather a shift in context to have the spiritual be the way that we make decisions about the material. Those are obviously kind of hard things to mirror in, certainly in the music, but these are really very worthy things to think about, especially in this time of the year when we think about stewardship and about using our resources in a way that articulates our faith and honors the community of faith that we are in. And that idea of keeping the spiritual as the way that that governs your decision making, in that sequence hymn between Paul's letter and the gospel, we'll be singing one of the most popular hymns here at St. John's, "Be Thou My Vision." Which talks about having your eyes, your vision filled with that teaching, that tradition, that presence of Christ in our lives, and that being the standard by which we live out all of our days and make our decisions. A little bit easier to pick up on musically is the psalm appointed for the day, which is Psalm 98, "Sing to the Lord a new song." And of course, that just sort of invites all kinds of musical interpretations and elaborations. So of course, we will chant that psalm at the appointed place in the service. But then the choir will be singing a setting of a psalm that comes just a couple before, Psalm 96, which is also "Sing to the Lord a new song." This setting that we will be singing on Sunday is by the Estonian-born composer Arvo Pärt. Arvo Pärt grew up under the Soviet regime. He was born in 1935, and early on in his career, he moved to Germany, to Berlin, where he has been based ever since. As he was a young composer in his 20s and 30s, he wrote very complex, dissonant music in the serial style. If you're familiar with the music of Arnold Schoenberg or Anton Webern, he wrote this very harsh, dissonant music. Some of it really very lovely, actually, but it was uncompromising and very rigorous. And then in the 1970s, he fell into a compositional silence, and he sort of reevaluated everything about his approach to music. And he emerged with a new musical style that he calls tintinnabuli style, tintinnabuli like the ringing of bells, and it's all based on overtones. So after he took this long compositional break, came up with a new musical language, he came back and the first piece that he wrote was a setting of the psalm, "Sing to the Lord a new song." So a little bit of a double entendre there for him. And you'll hear the choir chant, it's almost chant-like the way that they sing the psalm verses. Meanwhile, the organ does like overtones of bells. And he uses this very interesting notation. He didn't use this in other works, but he does here to give that lightness and that fluidity of motion. And so it's a very interesting way to set these words, sing to the Lord a new song, and yet it's this beautiful and very rejoicing language that fits the meaning of the text. So we hope that as you seek to worship this coming Sunday, you will join us here at St. John's Cathedral.